Hi, Barry. I think he stepped away from his computer, but I will have him respond to you.
That's fine. This Cassandra from the install here.
It is. How are you?
Okay. How's it going?
It's going pretty good.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Are you guys gonna be involved when Hollywood opens? Are you guys gonna pop in?
I'll be down there.
Cool.
Oh
Then
yeah,
we'll
we
see
will
you.
be all there.
Natalia, you're gonna be there too? That's awesome.
Absolutely, yes. I'm looking to see you too.
I know, it'll be awesome. It'll be like a reunion.
Yep, exactly.
Don't worry, I got my list put together.
I'm ready for it. I'm
Okay.
ready.
All right.
All right, guys, we'll just give it one more minute and then we'll get started, okay?
Which one of y'all is actually doing the training, Cassandra?
Barry.
Barry?
I'm sorry, Barry. Did you ask a question?
No, I was just saying who was actually doing the training. Was it Greco or Neto? Which one?
Oh no, it's Cassandra.
Oh, it's Cassandra. Okay. Right.
Yeah, Cassie, our favorite
Okay.
Cassie. She's doing the training.
All right.
We're here to learn, man.
Okay.
It's Cletus, Barry. Cletus is doing the training.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, take care.
All right, guys. So it is 12. Oh, well, now it's 12:01 here, so it's 2:01 there. So we're just gonna go ahead and get started, okay? Let me share my screen. Can everyone see my screen okay?
Yep.
Awesome. Alrighty, so let me go ahead and open this up. Oops, sorry, I forgot to save that to my desktop. All right, guys, so I just want to say welcome to your Oracle Analytics training. My name is Cassie. I'll be your trainer today. We do have only 5 bullet points on our agenda, but there is going to be a lot that we're going to cover today. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. First and foremost, I do want to go over this quick interview with you guys. Oracle Analytics, or as we refer to it, OAS, is a web-based application, so you do not need an installer for Oracle Analytics. Oracle Analytics is used to help supplement Synchros-based reports and provide additional information that may not be included in a canned or micro report within Synchros. So reports that are created within Oracle Analytics should be used for internal purposes only, because OAS is not certified as a valid reporting tool to meet standard gaming regulations. So it's just like Discover. If you are creating reports, you're going to primarily use those for internal purposes. Alrighty. So really quick PowerPoint. And we're just going to go ahead and get started in here, okay?
Hi, is Cassandra, is this you leading the meeting, Cassandra?
Yes.
Okay, hi. How many people are on this call? Is there quite a bit? I can't see everybody on my side.
It looks like there's 12 people currently.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there any way I can maybe address one thing before we get started? My name is John, by the way. I'm the corporate marketing guy.
Oh, hi.
Hi. So what I know this is training on this new Oracle platform. I know only one property will have it. From my understanding, it'll be the Queen Baton Rouge property. The other properties are still on Discoverer, and would need to upgrade, from my understanding, to that.
Right.
So I guess what I wanted to, since I had all of like a lot of the Queen team on, what I wanted to just put out to the group is, I'd love to know individually from you guys how you're currently using Discoverer, and be thinking about the things that Cassandra shows you today, if you will use it or if you will not. There's a significant cost, just so we know as the Queen team, to upgrade your property. So think about how you're using this and how you would use it at your property, and let me know how you're currently using Discoverer at your property if you have that. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there, Cassandra, while I had all the team together. So,
Sure, no problem.
thank you so much.
No problem. Alrighty, guys. So as I was saying, your Oracle Analytics will be a web-based application, so you will receive a URL, and that URL, once you click into it, will bring you to this home screen, or login screen, rather. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and put in your user ID, and then you're going to follow up with your password. Okay. So once you log in, you will be brought to this page, which we call our home page. You can see a lot of really cool things just straight here from this page. So you do have recent reports. You do have projects down here. You also have data sets. So we'll talk a little bit about these here in a second. If you want to customize this homepage so that you're only viewing things that are important to you, you do have the ability to do that. You'll just click on this page menu right here on the top right of the screen, that hamburger type menu. Once you click on that, you can go to customize homepage. And here you have all of the different categories that you can select to be displayed on your homepage. So you have your what's new section, your favorites, your projects, all of that good stuff. You do have different ways that you can display those as well. So we do have, if you hover over the squares on the left-hand side, you do have the ability to have these either in a tile view. Oops, sorry. Tiny view, which is going to be like these tiles that you see to the left. Then you have your standard view and your mosaic. If you don't want to see anything at all, you do have that round circle with the minus sign in the middle that will hide it. So if I just go ahead and click that minus sign for the what's new, it's going to fall off of my page. Then once I click save, now you can see that my page has changed a bit. So the first thing I want to show you guys, aside from how to customize your homepage, is actually how to create a project. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go up to this create button and we're going to click on it. You do have 5 options in that create box that pops up, but the only one that's currently being supported is project. So we're just going to go ahead and click into that. Once I do, it's going to bring up this add data set box. We're going to click into the subject areas. And now this is going to be all the different business areas that we can create a report for. So we have our audit analysis. The audit analysis business area is going to show us different
Wait.
changes.
Real quick. So are you saying that the other options that were available aren't yet finished within the product?
So the data sets specifically are not available yet, only because it's going to be more of the way I guess I should say it was explained is that it's more for very, very high-tech people that can like create queries and create the data sets or data cubes. I apologize. So those data sets are more for like an advanced user. And since we're starting off with Oracle Analytics, they haven't pushed that piece of the product out yet, but it should be something that can be supported later on.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. So these subject areas are going to be different areas within Synchros that you can create reports based off of. So we have our audit analysis, and the audit analysis is going to allow you to create a report based off of any changes that have been made in your system. So you can see what was previously in your system versus what the new change is, and you can track all of that information there. You have Cage and Credit, so you can evaluate all of your different Cage processes or transactions. You have your EGM device level analysis, which will give you data on the cabinet level of your slot machines. And then you have your EGM game level analysis that will actually give you data off of individual indexes in your slots. You also have employee analysis that will show you changes and updates made to employee-centric forms. You have your marketing analysis that will show you information for different marketing forms within Synchros and any changes and updates made to those. Your patron information analysis will show you patron information and data. Your patron participation is kind of a little bit of a mix of your marketing analysis and your patron information analysis. It'll show you elements of both, particularly how your patrons, like patron award information and patron incentive information. And then you have your SyncPy analysis, your table games analysis, and your transaction analysis. Okay, so if you're ever curious on what any of these do, or let's say if you just don't remember what is contained in some of these different subject areas, you can actually hover over any of these and a data tool or a data tip box will pop up that will give you a basic overall of what is contained in these different subject areas. Okay. So today I want to go ahead and pop into the marketing analysis. I'm just going to go ahead and start off here. And then I'm going to click Add to Project. So once I click that, you can see here on the left-hand side that we have all of these different folders. So for anyone who does use Discoverer, you're going to see it's kind of similar to the directories that we find in the business areas of Discoverer. So if I click down on comp info, then I can see all of the information related to comps. Just like in Discoverer, we do have what we call attributes here in Oracle Analytics as well. So in Discoverer, those attributes are defined. I actually can, now that I'm thinking about it, I kind of spaced out a little bit of what that icon looks like. But this is going to be the equivalent here, which is that big blue A. Oops, sorry, my mouse is moving a little slow. And then if I scroll down, we can see that we have like this clock icon, and that's going to define any data points that have a time and date evaluation. Then we have contest information. And what I really want to show you guys, or I guess I can't find it in this folder, but that's okay. I'll show you in another folder that we're going to be going to later, is our metrics, because we also do have those metrics data points in here as well. And that will be defined by a pound sign or a hashtag, whatever term you're comfortable with. So if I wanted to build a really quick basic report. And actually, let me go ahead and back out of this folder. So if I want to back out, all I have to do is click this blue arrow up on the top left. It's going to ask me if I want to save any changes. I'm just going to go ahead and click Don't Save. And this time I'm actually going to show you some patron information analysis. We're going to build a really quick marketing-based report. So all of you that have a lot of experience within Synchros or have at least dabbled in Synchros, you do know that whenever you create a incentive or an offer or a hot seat, it doesn't really matter specifically what it is you're creating. It creates a unique record. So for example, offer ID will show you the unique identifier for that specific offer and so on and so forth. Well, when you create groups, groups also generate a unique ID number. So the only difference is that within Synchros, we can't actually see those group IDs. So let's say that we need to make a report that will give us that group information. The very first thing you're going to want to know about using Oracle Analytics, and this is something that if you guys are taking notes, I highly suggest you guys, write down, maybe underline it a little bit. But when you are creating queries here, once you start dragging data points out, it's going to automatically run the query, which is what makes it different than, or one of the things that makes it different than Oracle, or sorry, than Discoverer. In Discoverer, when you're dragging those data points over, you don't run the query until you actually select the button that processes that query to run. Here, whatever you drag over instantaneously runs a query. So if you're going to be creating any sort of report that is really patron like driven, you're going to want to make sure that you at least narrow down your results first and apply some sort of filter. So if you have a very massive database with a lot of patrons in it, you're not going to slow down your query. So just to be in the spirit of things and kind of follow that guideline, I am going to go ahead and create a filter first. So I'm going to create a filter off of group status. To do that, all I'm going to do is click on that data point right here, and I'm going to drag it up to this section here. So do you see how there's this plus sign that says click here or drag data to add a filter? That's going to be where we can just create filters straight off the bat. So I'm dragging it up, I'm letting it go, and then it's going to show me either active or inactive, because those are the only two status that we have for groups. If I only want to see active groups, all I have to do is click active once, and it's going to go into the second drop-down menu that says selections on the top. And now if I use this hamburger menu, I can choose to either include selections or exclude selections. So since I only wanted to include active, I'm going to go ahead and leave it with the include selections checked. And then all I'm going to do is click out. And now you can see group status active is set. So now when I grab this group ID data point and I move it over to our visualization pane or project pane, however you prefer to call it, and I let it go, it's going to instantly return those results. So now these are only group IDs for active groups in my system. It is not going to show me any inactive group IDs. So I do want to gather a little bit more information. So I'm gonna go ahead and come back, and I'm just going to grab a couple more things. So here we have group name. I do want to see that group name. So I'm going to drag that over. Group type, I'll drag that over as well. Group description, And I don't know if you can see this blue bar that's popping up, but that blue bar indicates where that data point is actually going to be added in your query. So if I have that blue bar to the left of group ID, if I let this data point go, what it's going to do is place group description in front of group ID. Now, if I hover kind of in the center of group ID, it's going to create an outline around that whole data point or that returned data column. And if I let go of group description now, it's actually going to replace group ID. So when you're clicking and dragging different data points over, you just might want to keep an eye on those blue marks so you don't accidentally override something. Or you can actually just add a data point here in this rows box. So if I go ahead and drop it down below group type, we'll see that that blue bar also appears in this section. And if I let it go, it's going to populate right behind group type in the actual visualization pane. The last thing I want to add to this query is going to be the number of group patrons. That's going to be the number of patrons that are actually within the group. Okay. So now this is just some simple data that I'm pulling so that way whenever I am adding patrons to a group, maybe if I want to do a group import of sorts, or if I want to tie a group ID to another query that I have here in Oracle Analytics, I can simply just grab the group ID number and plug it into my other queries. So now that this report is finished for me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and dress it up a little bit. So here on the bottom left, so on the top left of this black section, we have where our different data points live in these directory folders. Right beneath that, where we have these double lines and it appears to be another section, that's our formatting section. So if I come down here, I can see a description, I have a data type, aggregation, a group description. If I click back into the query, it actually returns all of the different options that we have for the overall report. So here we have title, and if I scoot over just a little bit on the bottom, we have this little link that says auto. If I click on that, I can actually select custom, and now I can give my report a custom title. So I'm just going to go ahead and call this Cassie's group report. Once I click out, it's going to go ahead and apply to the top of our query up here. Now, if I really want to make an impression and I really want this title to stand out, I can go ahead and click on this custom again. Oh, sorry, the title font. Click on the auto, and here's where I can choose what font I want, the size, what color, if I want it bold, if I want to underline it, if I want it italicized. So I'm just going to go ahead and go with good old fashioned Times New Roman. Select that. Maybe make the font a little bit larger, maybe make it bold, underline it. And now I'm happy with the title. If I keep scrolling down, I can see that we also have options for a legend. If we wanted to utilize a legend in this report, we have a background, so I can change the color of the background. And then we have an option for suppressing repeating values that we can set. If I move over one icon, we have the edge labels. If I click on that, this is where we can actually control what we see in these headers. So if I want the text to wrap, I can go ahead and select that option. I can change the header font. So if I want to go ahead and make the header fonts bold, I can do so here. You also have the option to do it individually for each individual column. Sorry, I don't know why my mouse is lagging. I apologize. We have a total section here. And on this total section, this is just where we can make some formatting for our grand total line. First and foremost, we can turn it on. If it was applicable, only, this is not a report that has some data, so I'm just going to go ahead and turn this back off, or no numerical data, I should say. You can create subtotals, and then you can freeze your grand total line. So lots of cool options here. This is going to be your values button. So if you click on this, this is where it will go through and it will find anything that's represented by a number, and it'll automatically populate it here, and you can make additional formatting decisions for those sections or columns. You have your filters. So here you can create or select different options for filters. And then you have your analytics page, or your analytics section here, only we don't have anything to apply it for on this report. Once I'm happy with this report, I can go ahead and go up to the top and click on my save button, which is going to be that little floppy disk icon with the arrow pointing downward. Once I do that, I can decide at this point what I'm going to name the report. So I'm just going to copy it from the title. Call this Cassie's group report. And then I can leave a description here if I want. And once I save this, it's going to automatically save into a folder that only I can access. See the My Folders option here? If I wanted to save it somewhere where other users will be able to see this report, I can just go ahead and click this All section. And now I have the My Folders and I have the Shared Folders option. So I can just click into Shared Folders and I can share it there. In this case, I want to keep it to myself. Maybe I want to return to this report later and add a little bit more data to it. So it's not a complete product for me yet. So I'm gonna save it in my personal directory. So I'm just gonna go ahead and click the save button. And now it tells me the project was successfully saved. I also have the option to export this project. So if I want to export it, all I have to do is come to this little icon to the left of the save, that little rectangle with an arrow pointing upward. If I click into this, now I have the option to print, or I can export as a file type. If I click the file, we do have quite a bit of different options here. We have PowerPoint, we have PDF, we can export it as an image, as a CSV file, and then we can export it as a DVA. You can also change the orientation from here and the size of the report. So a couple more things I want to show you guys before I show you the next step in the agenda is some of these buttons that we have down here. So I do have this toggle data panel. If I select that, it's going to actually pop that data panel out. So that way we can just see our query a little bit better and we can make some adjustments on this query if we need to. I'm sorry, is there a question?
Oh, no, sorry.
Okay, just wanted to double check. I didn't want to accidentally talk over somebody. So if you hover over like the header of one of these columns, you can click and you can drag and move things around. So if I wanted to be able to have more freedom to, adjust my query as I see fit, you might want to hide the data visualization panel for that, because it tends to push your query a little bit more to the right and make it a little bit hard to see everything all at once. And if I want that data panel to return, all I'm going to do is come and find that same button. Now it'll be grayed out, and all I have to do is click it again and it'll return. You also have the option to select this button here on the right, And that's going to hide that additional panel that shows the data points that we do have dragged over to our query. And then again, if I want to be able to see both of those panels again, all I'm going to do is click on this. This is going to return that grammar panel. I guess that's what it's called, grammar panel. Sorry, I didn't realize that before. And I click it again, this data panel button, and now our data panel is returned. We do have this auto apply data option. And then we have this brushing option. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about these yet because I'm going to actually show you what the brushing technique looks like on a completed report. Alrighty, do you guys have any questions so far about creating a query? So I guess the one thing that I want to point out is, yes, OAS does have a lot of similarities to Discover, like with the click and drag, with the data points, like, you know, you don't have to go through and particularly, hold on, I'm sorry, apologize. I am sorry about that. I thought I put my phone on silent before we started. Okay. So it's very similar with that click and drag functionality. But there are some subtle differences in Discover. It's called a workbook. Here it's called a project. So there's like a little bit of an update, if you will, with like the different lingo that's used in Oracle Analytics. But I think the customization is really where you do see some of the differences as far as just creating these queries go. Now, the next thing that I want to show you guys is how to update a project. And when we do that, you'll see that it is kind of easier to create calculations. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of this. It's going to ask me if I want to save. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Alrighty, so the one thing that I didn't show you guys before we started creating a new project was this panel over here, or this other menu. If I select those lines, we're going to see that we have quite a few different options here. If I click into catalog, it's going to show me the reports that I already have created. And if I click into shared folders, it's going to show me any other shared projects that I'm able to access that have been created from another user, or any that I've created and I've put in this shared folder. So there is this Konami folder. And if I click into this, this is going to show us different reports that Konami has actually created and have provided for our customers to go ahead and run with their data so that they can already have some sort of canned reports for Oracle Analytics themselves itself. And if I scroll down, there is quite a selection.
Is analytics using live data also?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So if you want to be able to come in and edit a report that's already created, all we have to do to be able to make any changes is click into the report that we want to update. So I already started a report for you guys called an example estimated hold report. So I'm just going to go ahead and click into that. And you can see that I already do have some data points that I have selected and moved over, and I have already given it a title and formatted it a bit. But one thing that we can see that is different is we do actually have a lot of numbers or values in this one. So we can see that those are represented here in this rows section with that hashtag or that pound sign that I was talking about. And those are for metric specific data points. So now I'm looking at this report and I'm seeing that there's a couple of things that I should probably add to it so that I can finish it up. And the first thing that I want to do is I want to add net win. The thing with net win is that I'm going to want to make a calculation for that. So if I click on this scroll bar here on this data panel, and I scroll all the way down to the bottom, we do have a folder here called My Calculations. And if I click into that, it's not going to do anything because I don't actually have any calculations saved in there yet. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and select Add Calculation. So this box does pop up that is movable. So it's a really cool feature. Because when we are selecting what we want to move over into this box, we're going to select it from this data panel. So to calculate net win, I need to grab coin in. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll back toward the top. Sorry. Oops. Accidentally hit that panel. Now I got to scroll back to the bottom. That's okay. Add calculation. And actually, I believe it's here that I'm going to find the coin in. Yep, there it is. So I'm going to go ahead and grab coin in and I'm going to drag it over. And then coin in minus coin out minus meter JP. There we go. That's going to be the calculation for net win. So here I'm just going to go ahead and call it that on the top. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click validate. Now, when I click validate, it tells us whether or not it likes our calculation before we apply it. In Discover, when you create a calculation and it doesn't like your calculation, if you try to run your query again, or as soon as you click OK, it will not populate the query until you either delete the calculation or you fix it. Here you have the option to click validate so that it can tell you whether or not this calculation is going to work before you add it to your query. In Discover, you have a list on the left-hand side of the different functions that you can apply to a calculation, or the different items that you can apply to a calculation. The items in this case are going to be here in this data panel, but the functions are going to be here on the right-hand side. So you can see that we have operators, and if I scroll down, that's just your basic add, subtract, multiply, divide. You have your ands, ors, nots, betweens. If I wanted to add one of these, I can just come and click it and drag it over. And then you can see that it's different from the data points because this one actually is coming up as green instead of blue. I can also search. So if I'm looking for something specific, like maybe count, I know that count is one that's pretty popular. I can see that we have 3 different options here, but if I hover over one or if I click into one, it actually gives me a description of what that function does right below. So we do have the ability to determine if this is the right function based off of this descriptor. In this case, I'm kind of happy with the way my calculation currently is. I validated it. And the OAS is telling me it's also happy with the way I have it created. So I'm just gonna go ahead and click save. And now it's not added to my query yet because I will have to go down to that my calculations folder, and now I can see that net win calculation here. All I have to do is click it and drag it out. And now it's going to apply it onto my query. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and add one more calculation. So to add a calculation, again, all we're going to do is right click on my calculations. We're going to click the add calculation button. Once I do that, it's going to pop open this box. I'm going to go ahead and give the name to this calculation right here in this name field. I'm just going to go ahead and call it estimated hold percent. And then for this calculation, what we need is the calculation that we already created prior. So this net win calculation. And we're going to divide that. Here, we'll just use an operator. We use the divide operator. So we're going to divide that by our coin in. Let me just go ahead and find that data point again. Once I find it, I'm just going to click and drop it in. And then again, I'm just going to click validate. And now we get a calculation validated message. So I'm going to go ahead and click save. And then we're just going to go ahead and drop it in here into our query. Cool. And now there it is. So in the group ID, we did have this option for values that we didn't really touch too much on, but now I can show you a little bit of what it does. We do have the coin in here. So if I drop down on coin in for number format, if I click on the auto, I can actually choose how I want this this column to be formatted. Do I want it formatted as a number, percentage, currency? In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and choose currency, and it's going to add the $ for us and make it look, make it look like it's a number, right? We also have the option to change the currency. So if that's here, it's defaulted to US dollar, which we're going to most likely leave, but you can choose a different currency type. You can choose if you want the thousand separator or if you just want it to not have the comma in it. And then you can choose the decimal. You can choose abbreviations if you want. So if I turn this on, now we can see the K's here to represent the thousands. So lots of cool stuff in this formatting section. Do you guys have any questions about editing a already pre-existing project? All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and click save. That way, all the changes that we made stay in our report. And once we get this project updated successfully message, we can go ahead and move on to our next section. So we already did kind of explore the catalog folders. When I pulled this report open, I showed you where your directory, that my folders section lived. I showed you where the shared folders lived. But one thing that I didn't show you that I hope you guys are really going to enjoy. And we're back in the catalog here. So when I went back, it took me straight back to the point that we started at. I'm going to go ahead and click into shared folders again, open up this Konami folder. And I want to show you guys a good example of what brushing looks like. So here we have this Cage hourly evaluation report. I'm just going to go ahead and open that up. So once I open it up, you can see that we do have in here a little bit of data, but it's not the classic query type data that we already had created in the prior examples. This is what we call, or this is really the beauty of the Oracle Analytics data visualization interface. Because here we can see that we have different tables that have different data all on one, what we call canvas. So we can look at repository counts, we can look at hourly Cage transactions, transaction type counts, and day of the week counts all in one place. If I wanted to change the year, because right here, this filter is telling me that this is for the year 2021, I can click into that filter and scroll down and find another year that I'd like to use. So I can click on 2022, or if I want to remove it, I can simply just click on it again from the selection side of the year 2023. So it's really up to you what you want to select. So once I have that selected, I'm going to click out, and now you can see how the data has changed. And you can see that there's quite a, it's more colorful now. So here for number of transactions, we can see that we have the hour of the day that goes across the bottom. So we can see that there was 14 transactions, or there was a transaction that happened in the 14th hour, so at 2 p.m. We can see that there was some transactions that happened at 4 p.m. We have a lot of transactions, actually 16, because if I hover over the bar graph, it will tell me that there's 16 transactions that happened in that midnight hour. And if I look at the transaction type counts, it'll tell me how many happened on a Monday, how many happened on a Thursday, how many happened on Tuesday, but also what those transaction types were. So we have close of day transactions, Cage close, we have the opening of the shift. So we can see some really cool stuff here, and we can see what repositories it was that was conducting a lot of these different transactions. And then we have the day of the week counts. So we can see that there was way more activity on Wednesday than there was on Thursday. So if I want to evaluate just Wednesday so that I can have an idea of what was happening on that day, all I have to do is come and click on this Wednesday. And now it's going to adjust all of the other tables on my graph so that I'm only evaluating the information that I selected here. That is the brushing technique, where we apply one filter to one table, and that filter will drive, so to speak, the other tables that we have on the same canvas. So you can really get down and we'll get down to business and see just what you want to see. So here we have hourly Cage transactions. Now we can see that there were 4 that were processed in the midnight hour on that Wednesday. There were 2 that were conducted in that 2 p.m. hour. And then we have another 4 that were conducted in that 4 o'clock hour. And we can see what those transaction types were for that Wednesday. What repositories it was that did those transactions. It looks like 6 of them came from Cage Window 1. The other 4 came from this unknown repository. I'll be honest, I have not mastered the brushing technique yet. I haven't had too much time to come in here and play with it, but I will say it is really awesome once you do have these canvases created. And luckily, Konami has put quite a few of them into that Konami shared report or shared folder report for you guys to be able to look at. Do you guys have any questions on canvases. Alrighty, guys. So that's pretty much what I want to show you guys for the data visualization side of Oracle Analytics. But we do have another interface with Oracle Analytics. So here, I'm going to show you guys what that other interface looks like. To get there, we're going to go ahead and click on the menu button to the right of the Create button. And we're going to go ahead and click Open Classic Home. So this is the other interface for Oracle Analytics, and this is the BI interface, or Business Intelligence interface. So there are some differences between the data visualization side and the BI Classic side. First and foremost, we cannot create canvases and use that brushing technique here on the BI side. The major difference for the BI side, how it functions and differentiates from the DV side, is that you can create an agent, and the agent is essentially how you guys can have your reports automated and sent directly to your email or anybody's email that wants to receive these reports that are created. So this side has the ability to do that. That ability is currently being created for the data visualization side, but it has not launched officially yet. Another difference between the data visualization side and the business intelligence side of Oracle Analytics is some of the names are going to be different. So just like you can create a project in the Oracle Analytics side, you can create an analysis in the BI side. So if I go ahead and I select that analysis here, it's still going to pop up the same subject areas that we have available on the other side. It just has a different name for the query that we're building. Here, though, it actually gives you these tooltips straight from this menu. We can also just come to the top and select Create here and come down and hit Create Analysis. And it'll give us that same pop-up box here. So just to keep things kind of consistent, and so you guys can see the difference from one user interface to the other, I'm just going to go ahead and recreate for you guys the estimated hold report that we had on the DV side. So if I come in here and I go down to, oops, I passed it. If I go to EGM device level analysis, I'll just go ahead and click into that. And now we can see that it has a somewhat similar look here for the data visual or the data pane. So we're still going to get our data points from the left-hand side here. So the first thing that I had on, or the first different data point that I had on the other side was asset number. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab that, and I'm going to click it and drag it into selected columns. And it's just going to go ahead and hang out here. So you can see here on this side that the query does not instantaneously run like it did on the Oracle or on the DV side of Oracle Analytics. So I'll just go ahead and pull my other data points over. So we also had coin in. So another thing that is different from the DV side to the BI side is your attributes are signified by this like blue grid looking icon. And if I scroll down further, our metrics are actually defined by a ruler icon. So I've got my coin in. I'm going to go ahead and select my coin out. And then I'm going to get my metered cash drop. And my metered voucher drop. And finally, my metered JPs. All right, once I have these all selected, I can actually come in and create a filter here if I wanted to, using this, any of these different column headers if I'd like, or these different data points. But I'm actually not going to do any of that yet. I actually just want to see how this report is going to run. So I'm going to go ahead and go up here to the top and click on results. It's to the right of the criteria section. And once I click on that, that's what's actually going to run our query. So now I can see all of the same information that I had on the data visualization side. It's just going to appear different here. It's not as poppy or as pretty, but it does still contain the same information. Now, if I wanted to add my calculations here, just like we had added them on the other side, what I'm going to do that is go ahead and click on the new calculated measure. It's that little ruler icon right here on the top of this query. Once I do that, I can come down and I can find my data points, or I can actually use columns to do that, which is really convenient because my coin in, coin out, and meter JP is already existing in my query. So I'm just going to go ahead and select coin in, add the minus sign by typing it out, or I could have selected it from here. Grab my coin out, add the minus sign, and then go ahead and select my meter JP. Once I do that, I'm just going to go ahead and, well, actually here I do have to name it. So let me go ahead and name it net win. I'm just putting it in the column heading because that's where I'm going to recognize it. And then I'm going to click OK. Now it's going to rerun the query and it's going to actually apply directly to the query. So some more subtle differences.
So when you run that way, and you go to do a calculation, do the whatever you're calculating, the different coin in, mice coin out, etc. Does it have to be in the report already?
It does
Or
not.
it does not.
So
So you could grab another field that's not in your report and use it as part of the calculation.
Right. So if
Okay.
I come back up to the ruler here on the top that shows the new calculated measure, you actually have the subject areas here on the left-hand side, and you can just grab any of these and like we'll just go ahead and click one of these and click this arrow over, and it'll apply it straight into your calculation box.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Alrighty, and yeah, just so I can show you a little bit more of how that looks, we're gonna go ahead and calculate our estimated hold percentage. So I'm just gonna go ahead and name that here in the column heading as well. Oh, look, it already has it. It already has it ready for me to select from a drop down. So I'm just gonna go ahead and grab that. And then I'm gonna scroll down. I'm gonna find my net win. Actually, I'm not going to find it here. I'm going to find it in our column. So I'm going to grab it, and then I'm just going to do divide by, And then we're gonna find our coin in here on the left-hand side. Once I select it, I can just use this arrow, move it over, and now it's going to apply. Oops, it actually accidentally deleted my divide by sign, so I'm just gonna add it back in. Now I'm gonna click OK, and again, it's gonna run the query for us, and then it's going to place that estimated hold percentage straight into the query for us. So here we do have some options. If I right click on estimated hold, I can choose to sort my column, and I have all of these different sort options. I can move my column, so I can move it to the left. I can exclude the column. If I had actually right clicked on this one, it'll give me the option to move to the left or to the right. If I click on this edit view here up on the top, it will actually let me make some changes to our table directly from here. So we have sections here, so I can do totals, or I can click on that section's property, and it will actually allow me to change the borders, the border color. I can pick whatever color it is that I want for that. A border style. I can do the alignments for the cells, or I can choose how I want the column heading to display. And I can even choose a different background color. So here's where we can do the formatting for our columns. We can also make changes to our table as a whole. If I click on that formatting button on that section, and we can change all of the options for that here as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and choose red for my border color and just click OK. And then we have our columns and measures. So if I wanted to make changes individually to each data point, I can do that from here as well. If I scroll back up, we have, let me see. Oh yeah, sorry. It's on the other tab. I always forget that. So here we have this prompts tab to the right. If I select that, it's going to ask me if I want to make any change, or if I want to save my changes. I'm just going to go ahead and click no for that one. This is where you can actually create like a date prompt. For example, all I'm going to do is click this plus sign here, and then I can do a column prompt. So I can actually make a prompt for any of these at all. So a prompt is going to be just like in Discover for anyone that has used Discover, where you can create a specific date time frame. And when you open up that Discover report, you can actually put the date in there, or your dates in there for when you want to run that report. You can do something similar here. I don't actually have a date already in the column, but if I wanted to select more columns, it'll actually pop up our data point list for me. And then I can come in and I can scroll down and I can find a different date filter for that. So under EGM statistics, we do have gaming day. I know it doesn't really apply to this report, but I'm just going to do one for an example. If I come down over here to operator, I can put is between, for example, and for the calendar, for the input, I can just keep it at calendar. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow us to select dates from an actual calendar tool that will pop up. So I'll click OK. And then if I go back to results, oh, sorry, let me save this. It's down here. I can come down here and I can choose the calendar button, and this is where I can choose my time frames. So I'll just go ahead and say from January 1st to today's date and click apply. Go back to my results and it's going to rerun my query for me. I feel like I probably should have used a different example so we could see how that data would change with that time adjustment, but at least you guys can see how a prompt is created. Do you guys have any questions on how to create a query on the BI side? Cool. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and click Save Analysis. And this time I will call this BI so that I know that it's for specifically this side. Estimated volt. Another way we're going to be able to tell the difference is by the icon that we see for these reports. So just like when we went into the DB side and we hit create, we had the project icon. The project icon is the same as the icon that we see to the left of these reports. So let me just go ahead and save this one, and then we can see how this one looks different. See how it has like almost like a gauge on it? This icon here is going to tell us that this is an analysis from the BI side. So now that I come back to home, I can see that it has this icon here, meaning it was created on the side. We can edit it on this side and we can schedule an agent on it for this side, but we cannot create an agent for any of these projects that were created on the DB side. Which means that if you do create a project on the data visualization side and you happen to really like the project and you want to be able to have that batch reported to you, you will have to actually come into the BI side and recreate it if you want it scheduled out. So to create an agent, what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and click the agent button under the actionable intelligence. Once I click on that, we're going to have a couple of tabs that go straight across. So for general, this is where we can set the priority. Is it a high priority, normal, low priority for this report and the runtime? And then do we want it run as the recipient who's receiving the report, or do we want to, or do we want to use the agent owner's credentials? So if I have this report getting sent out to my manager, if they run the report, is it going to be run under my name because I created it, or is she going to use her own information? Then we have the scheduler. This is where we can set a frequency. So how often do we want these reports sent out? Do we want them sent out only one time? Do we want them sent daily, weekly, or monthly? If I run reports every Monday morning and I just want this report to be sent directly to me, I'll come in and I'll select weekly. And I'll just go ahead and choose Monday. Every week is fine because I'm going to have to run these reports every single week anyway, so I'll leave it at the 1. And then here is where you can actually select what day and time it's going to be sent out. One thing that I do want to point out though is before you get to this part where you're going to schedule the time, what you're going to want to do is come up to the top here, and do you see on the right hand side the My Profile icon, that person silhouette? If I click on that and I go to My Account, it's going to pop up a new box so you don't have to worry about losing any of the data that you've already entered for your agent. You're going to want to come over here and set your time zone first. So I'll go down and I'll find, and I'm kind of going a little quick, but here we have Central Time. I'll just go ahead and select Central Time and I'll select OK. And now if I come in and I choose a specific date, maybe I want this to start running on the 24th and I click 8 a.m. or I type it in. We already have the 8 there, so that's awesome. All I have to do is put the numbers back down to 0 for the minutes. and click the AM button. Now it's going to schedule these reports to me exactly at 8 AM Central Time. So if you don't have this set properly, maybe it might be set to Mountain Time. You guys might be getting reports early. But if you have it set to a time that's used on the other side of the world, you might possibly be getting reports at 2 or 3 in the morning. Okay, so that's why it's kind of important to set that there first. Now you can have your agent rerun every X amount of minutes if you want to, and then you can set an end time. But in this case, I just want to receive it the one time every week. And I don't want to set an end date because this is something that I know I'm going to have to run for the duration of my time here. So I'll just leave no end date selected. Then we have conditions. So we can come in here and set a condition if we'd like. Oops. Let me go ahead and pop this back in. We have delivery content. So this is where we can come in and put a subject. If I want to put weekly estimated hold %. I can now choose which report it is that I'm going to be scheduling. So I'll just select my BI estimated hold report and select OK. And now I can choose a specific format for it. I want it in a CSV format. And then I can have it deliver as an attachment, or I can have it deliver with the results directly. So it'll actually be in the body of the email if I made that selection. I can put a note for the attachment. And if I had created a condition, I can come over here and set if condition is false, deliver this message. But in this case, I did not set a condition. Now for recipients, this is where I can come in and I can choose to either send it to a specific user or a specific email or for a specific role. If you do choose email, or sorry, if you do choose role, they have to belong to your company. Same with users. It's going to have to be a user that already exists here. So all I have to do is click the add button. If I wanted to add it to additional people here, I don't actually have a list of members to choose from, but you can choose accounts from here, and whoever you choose will be added to the selected members. And then they will populate here. So right now it's only coming to me, which is fine. I'll have it automatically scheduled to my email and then I'll distribute it out. Then you have destination. So here you can choose specific devices if you want to send it via email, which is always great, or you can choose to have it sent to a handheld device, a digital phone. This is just where you can come in and make those selections and kind of be able to distinguish how your report will be formatted for those devices, that it will adjust accordingly. And then you have your actions, which is also a part of those conditions. So if you can select specific actions to take place, whether or not the condition that you set is true or if it is false. Once you're happy with what you've created, you can go ahead and come over here and click save to save your agent. I'm just going to go ahead and call this estimated hold agent and click OK. And now I'll have this report batched to me instantly. And I know it's going to recur every 8 AM Central Time every Monday so that I know that I'm getting it when I really want it. Do you guys have any questions on creating an agent? No? All right, guys, do you guys have any questions on your overall training?
Whenever we train for Go Live, are we going to be able to set up our weekly reports, monthly reports that we normally run?
So if you do create those reports on the BI side of Oracle Analytics, you can actually create for them to be scheduled out at that point. But you will have to create the agent for those as well. If you do have an idea of what you want to create and what you want to have scheduled for you, someone will be available or should be available to help you with any questions that you have on site for that.
Okay, yeah, I do have a list of reports that I want to create, and some of them automated, but
Okay.
some more of a analytical way of being able to see the worth of different programs, different segments we create in the system, different events, promotions. I didn't really see any of that yet, but I'm sure if I get in there, I can dig around and find what we need. It seems pretty straightforward. It's not where you have to find the name of the field and find the table and all that. The names are just right there. So it's pretty simple, I think.
Right. There's it's pretty straightforward as soon as you get into like the specific subject area, because I don't know if I showed you guys this, but even if you hover over, let me come back to the DB side real quick. I'm just gonna
And
pop
we would
into
just
this one
use
for
this.
example.
I mean, why would we use this when we would want to be able to send automatic reports? So I guess if we want to send automated reports, we would have to do it in the BI.
Yes. So I
Okay.
guess it's just for different use cases. If you want to be able to create, like, let's say, for example, those canvases that have that brushing technique. So maybe if you're
Mhm.
more focused on trying to build some KPIs, that would be like really useful for your team to be able to see them, and not really, if you know, like some roles or some different members might have an easier time seeing the data than reading it.
Mhm.
It's really cool to have that canvas there to be able to have that visualization piece versus
Right.
the BI side, where you can go in and it's just for reporting purposes more so, and you can have those delivered.
Okay.
Yeah, and then if you do hover over any of these folders here, it actually does tell you what's in the individual folders and what each exact data point is. So when you are starting a project, let's say on the DV side, if you just want to start there to kind of make sure that the different data points that you are adding to a query make sense for you before you create them on the BI side, it's actually really helpful to have these data tips, because you can see what's in the subject area, what's in the directory folder, and what each data point is first. So I do love that feature about the DV side of OAS.
Do y'all have a list that tells you what you would have to limit on in your fields? Like ACSC, we couldn't just say, give me established date. We would have to grab the date field and we would have to limit it by a certain code to be able to get the established date. So situations like that, is it like that in this system, or is it clear as day that tells me if it's, I mean, there's different like count distinct, is it going to give me, the date is always what can really change the report. Are we looking at, which, I guess, where's your date fields? Is there different date
So-
fields?
Yeah, so it's dependent on what section you're in. For example, we're just looking at EGM information. So if I scroll down, there are 3 different date types here, like the first activation date, last. I guess that one's kind of a little bit in the descriptor itself. Let me go ahead and go back to like a marketing section, for example.
Yeah, that'd be good. So like last rated trip, those are the ones you're referring to.
Yeah. So here, let's see, I think it's going to be this one that we're going to actually want to pop into, the patron information. Let's see.
There's got to be some list though, because I do see whenever y'all set up your flags, there's different names for the flags. So where would I pull if I only wanted to pull code number 3 of the exclusion flags? Things like that.
Right. So I'm not sure if there is a list, but I can go ahead and double check with our database team to see if they have some sort of documentation for specific data points.
Perfect. We had a whole book for ACSE of tons of tables and tons of fields. It was a mile long. So hopefully this is easier. Hopefully it's not like that. But I know that it was not as complicated to find. I mean, it was not easy to find new member or find just certain things that we only wanted to drill down and look at without having to limit fields on certain codes and such.
Got it. So I
Natalia can probably, I don't, is Natalia still on? She could probably relate because she also moved from ACSE to Konami. I don't know, she may not still be on, but maybe, can you tell me whenever?
Sorry, yes. Can you repeat your question? Sorry.
whenever you moved from ACSE to Konami, was it hard with the fields? You know how in ACSE you have to identify how you're going to limit one of the fields to get what you want. So if I need to find a certain flag, I would have to know which number flag I need. If I needed to pull established date, I would have to pull by certain codes in that field to say number 49 means established date. It's more than just drag and drop. You got to limit by all these different fields.
Correct.
So how was that for you?
It was a little complicated, yes, because we used to have a dictionary. Yes, you need to use to look. Yes, it is manageable. Yes.
So we don't have a dictionary, is what you're telling me?
No, currently we don't use a dictionary, but used to, yes, I had a big dictionary, yeah, where we used to look address widget fields. Right now, we just, I don't know, like I'm using the Discovery, it's so simple, or that I don't know, they have less fields and it's much easier.
Okay.
It's much simple, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I would imagine, Natalie, if you didn't know a code and what it did, you could probably go to that menu option and use your help function, and they probably would tell you what it is, I would imagine.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, it's hard without having my hands on it to really get in there and see what everything is.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, then you do your filter, and that's going to be where you're going to say, okay, it needs to be equal to X, Y, and Z. So anyway.
Yeah, and I will say, so I don't have any experience in the product that you're talking about that you guys used to use. But what I will say that I know is very convenient about date types, specifically within Discover and within OAS, is that they are named exactly as they are within Synchros. So if you're looking for a sign up date, for example, or you're looking for a birth date or a new member, or first writing date, they're going to be named the same within Discover and within Oracle Analytics. So you don't have to really question what date ties back to which meter.
Great. That's great.
Yeah.
And so in Oracle, do you have every field in every table for Konami listed? So if I wanted to create something and let's say I wanted to create a report. I know right now, like there's a report out there for employees, but it doesn't contain the job title, but it contains a bunch of other information that I would need. So I would be able to just go and pull those in. I mean, I'd hate to think, even though it doesn't show up on any of the Konami reports, maybe, Are the reports I'm looking at anyway.
Yeah, so I think I'm not exactly sure, to be honest with you, on what points or what specific fields may not be included in
Uh-huh.
Oracle Analytics, but there is quite a bit of information that does match directly back to the database and
Uh-huh.
and what tables that data is originally being like pulled from.
Right.
So I can check to see if there's anything that is specifically excluded from OAS or
Mhm.
from Discover, but for the most part, a lot of those, especially here in OAS, where it seems like there are additional data points than what was offered in Discover, it does
Mhm.
seem to be fairly close.
Okay.
Let
So
me go
will we
ahead and
need
ask.
to, we're not gonna have where we have to bounce queries off each other, right? I mean, I can grab, if I need to get date of birth over here, I can go into another area and grab last rating or whatever it is. In ACSE, we had where it wasn't all in one table, so we would have to link the tables together to get our results. So I guess there's not really any tables here. We'll just
Well,
grab wherever it is.
I think they're already linked. They've already built it to where
Yes.
it's linked.
Oh my gosh,
believe.
this is
Yes,
really
so
nice.
that
And I'm noticing Scott is on here. Scott hasn't said anything, but he feels my pain. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. Please, Scott, tell me what is going to be the big difference? Like, is all this easy?
I mean, it's easier than ACSC was as far as building queries, but a data dictionary would help still.
Yeah,
Right.
I think so.
Yeah, so you wouldn't have to go to every folder, open it up and see what's there
Right, it'd be
to
easier.
find what you're looking for. Right.
I did
Unless
have
there's
one
unless there's a quick search. There is a search. So in the search, if you were to type, I don't know, win-loss or something, I don't care, whatever. Would it bring anything up?
let's see.
So Scott, you don't have to
So-
link anything. Link
Yeah,
from
so-
left to link from right.
Or win or
No, you don't have to link.
Yeah, so that
Nice.
is one thing that I will say, because I was
Uh-huh.
trying to type win-loss in here, but so there are some things that will be on different tables. For the most part, I feel like it's very comprehensive. So if you are trying to look at patron-specific information, it really does try its best to keep all of that on one table. So here for the patron information analysis, we can see personal info, for example, and that's going to give us everything we need to know about the patron, their patron ID, last name, first name, middle name, preferred name. We have birth date in here. We have sign up date. There's age, their gender. So it's really comprehensive here. As far as the win-loss, we might not find it in that same folder. We might find it a little bit further down. But if it's not in the patron,
Sometimes you can.
the patron information subject area, that win-loss would probably exist also maybe in patron participation, because that's actually showing their metered data, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
We can go to all these different folders and find coin in, win-loss, whatever we need, and bring it to the patron demographics, because we may need that. We want to pull in their email, their first trip, their date of birth, address, phone number, and then we want to say, okay, what's their last 3 months rated play, coin in, coin out, all of that.
Right, and that's another cool feature. So here, I'll just show you guys an example of that real quick. So here we have patron-driven information, and it does have quite a bit of information specifically on the guest, but it might not have rating details, which is something that we're gonna wanna see. So if I exit this folder, I'm just gonna go ahead and hit don't save here, and if I come and click create, and then I jump into the patron participation analysis instead of the information analysis, and I click add a project, if I drop this down, I'm still going to have all the great information that I had in the other folder, such as date of birth, first name, last name, age. It's just that this is now a new table. So it has joins that don't go just to patron centric information, such as card type and all of that information. Now it's actually joins between metered data. So it's telling us, if I scroll down here, rating details. So now it's telling me exactly that type of information. So their slot in, their rating slot in, slot coin out. We can see their buy-ins, their walk widths, their average wager, Theo win. So it is still kind of separated by use case, but we still do have those great joins in there that give us exactly the information that we need and want all in one place, so we don't have to pull from other areas.
Can you show me the join that, like, do an example?
I guess so. The example would just be having all of the patron personal information here, like everything that we have in
Okay,
this
you don't have
one
to
section.
select anything for a join. You're just saying it's all there.
Yes,
It's already been
yeah. So
done.
the join is in the back end.
Okay,
But we
I got
see
you.
it pretty and brushed up on the front end as just different data points that are just separated by folder that just contain different information, but the joins are in the back.
Got it.
So all we
Nice.
have to do when we're creating a query is just come in and find that data point, click and drag, and it just makes it easy for us to build one query with just that click and drag motion and still include all of this data here.
What about,
Yeah,
do we have
Natalie,
to
I
do?
think I'm sorry, Natalie, I think the most complicated thing you're gonna run into is gonna be figuring out which folder everything is that you need. So, you know,
Yeah. Or maybe can
that's,
we,
I think it's
can we
gonna
make
be
like a
the most
favorites or something and bring these fields to like a favorites area? Then I could just drag.
Yes. So unfortunately, there's not a way to create a favorites area, only because the way Oracle Analytics is currently set up is that all of these different subject areas have specific tables and joins in them that make sense without corrupting data. So that way we're not combining two different data points that maybe don't regularly connect or have joins to each other, and then it causes your queries to continuously crash.
Okay. Do
So
we,
if I
was just gonna ask, do we no longer have to use 100-year date? What is the date format?
Oh, yes. So let me show you that real quick. And this is honestly my favorite feature. If I come in and I'm just going to go ahead and do this patron participation again. And let's say our rating detail, because I know that there's some dates in here. Let's say calendar day, or we can do rating gaming day, one or the other. And like I said, if you hover over, actually tells you specifically what those differences are. So that's kind of like a cool, helpful hint.
Yeah.
If I drag this calendar day and set it as a filter, it's going to give us a calendar. So all we have to do is go ahead and hit today, for example. So it starts us off at our starting point. We click July, and it's going to give us our months. So if I want to evaluate from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, I'll just choose January, let's say for 2022. I'll come back into our 2022 year. I'll choose the first, and then here, I'll just change these dates to 2022. December, choose the 31st, and now it's telling us what our specific dates are. So whenever you are
like it.
creating dates, you can choose the exact month, the exact day, and the exact year all on a calendar format. So you don't have to type anything in, or it doesn't have to be, I know some of you guys who have used Discover, you know that if you're creating like a date parameter, for example, it has to be in the format of the first 3 letters of the month, and then it's the year and the date, but it's a specific format versus here where it's just a calendar tool.
Very nice.
Yeah, I will tell you, I used Discover for quite some time at my last property. And when I saw Oracle Analytics, it blew me away. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so intuitive. This
Now,
is so much.
This is a good question because this is something we're trying to figure out. What are the biggest advantages of this over Discover?
I would say hands down, it's going to be the data visualization specific tools. So just those dashboards and having that brushing technique, because you can create different tables and have them all link and interact with each other in a way that you're only seeing specifically what you want to see. So you can start with a big picture and narrow down to specific details. So you can get as granular as you want, or you can go as broad as you want. Like it's all there for you. I really do like that it seems to be a lot of information here that you can grab and throw together in a query and have it be all instantaneously run versus in Discover where you do have to go into your query governor from time to time and create specific settings to be able to pull back specific amounts of data. So the query governor, you have to set how long you want to wait for your query to run before you get results, or you have to choose how much data to limit or to open up to receiving at a time. So you have to put those pre-filled, I guess, to go in and create those specifically there versus here where everything just runs. If you do happen to forget to set a filter first, let's say you have a database, and I don't know exactly how many people you have in your database, but let's say you have 700,000 patrons in your database and you go and you move patron ID over, instead of Oracle freezing Oracle Analytics freezing on you, and then it's just spinning and spinning and spinning, we actually have a feature that will actually come and kill the query. If it's too large of a query or it's something that is just not feasible, it will kill it instantaneously. So you guys don't have to wait while your instance crashes.
That's nice.
Yeah, so a lot of cool stuff in here as far as that goes. And I just think a major selling point for me personally is the calculations, because you don't have like you kind of know more or less what you want to do as far as the calculation goes, but you don't know if it's going to work until after you apply it. Versus here, you can actually validate it first, and then Oracle will tell you what it doesn't love about the calculation if there is an error in it. So you don't have to guess about what it is that's breaking your query. So a lot of cool features.
Is there anybody on our side that sees a big difference from Discovery, or what they think is something that would be a really nice feature to have? The ones that don't have Oracle, like I think it's just the bell that's on here.
I actually have a question about the differences. I got hold of or sent a comparison chart, and it says Discoverer is a thick client application versus Oracle Analytics is a thin client application. Do we know exactly what that is?
So I am not completely sure what that terminology is referring to. Thick versus thin client.
Okay,
Thick client.
it
Thick
was
client.
just that and visual dashboards are the only two differences.
Yeah, so those dashboards are going to be what I was referring to as canvases, where we saw the brushing technique being applied. And that's where where you can create multiple tables all on one cohesive project and be able to add that brushing technique that allows you to narrow down data or view or really scope into specific features.
Okay.
Oops.
Other than that, they're relatively the same.
Yeah, and just the random odd end things that we kind of covered a little bit earlier. Just like how you can validate a calculation first. So on a user standpoint, I guess, just from the things that I've noticed from being a user before I came to work for Konami are things that eliminate the headache. Do you guys have any other questions? Nina, I think you was there something that you had wanted to add about the client's information? The thick versus thin?
Oh, I just was gonna say from a, there's just a little difference from the, computer side of it. Let's put it that way. From the IT data side of it. That's about it,
Got
but
it.
it's not yeah. Anyway, but what I do want to say is I think there were some issues with getting some information from, let's say, the user information for IT from the discovery side. And I think I believe I was told we'd be able to get it through the Oracle Analytics software.
Oh, do you know by chance what specific information? I think you had
Well,
mentioned role.
Yeah,
So-
it was the role. We were doing different things. We have to get the EIN, the gaming number, the role, things like that. And we weren't able to really get all the information that we needed. And I think they said Oracle Analytics should be able to get that for us.
So here under employee info, we do have employee ID, last name, first name, middle name, card number. We do
So you've
have
got the
EIN.
EIN, the gaming license. Do you have the job title?
Let's see, roles.
Yeah, the roles. So we should be able to pull in the
Yep.
roles as well.
Yep,
Yeah.
there's the role.
So, yeah, they said we should be able to get it from this, but we couldn't get, I think Barry said he couldn't get everything from the other.
Yeah, so
Yeah, there were
there
certain canned
are-
reports that don't, like
Canned
you can
reports,
run
yeah.
one report and it has stuff, and then you run another report and it has the other half of the information. So he was trying to go through like the Discoverer tool and use that as a way to join up the information, because the canned reports do not actually have that all in one report.
Got it. Yeah, so actually it does seem to me like there is a lot of information here that could make it easier for you guys to build a custom query that does combine that information. So it has employee limits here, it has employee approvals. The roles and permissions actually has both all in one.
Right, and that stuff's important for us when we're doing our LSP, sending LSP what they need and stuff like that, so.
Yeah, so it looks like there is some additional data points in here that I myself have kind of like spotted versus like what's available on Discover. I do see some things and I'm like, I don't believe that I had that in Discover, but it's kind of hard now that I've been like using Oracle Analytics more frequently than Discover. I haven't used Discover very much since I've left my last property. So, it is pretty comprehensive in my opinion, like the different things that you can do here. Like there is a lot more functionality, especially here on this DV side that that I think are unique compared to what we had available in Discover. But all in all, I think they're both great tools. It's easier to just click and drag than having to, do like a SQL query and stuff. So they both have a lot of good uses and stuff. So I guess it's just depends on what it is exactly that you guys are trying to achieve, especially in this new version, in this Oracle Analytics version, because you have two different interfaces that also have different functionality. So it's all, I feel like it's all based off of how you want to continue or what you want to achieve when building queries.
Is there, I just have a quick question. Is there other ways to get this information, or is some of this information only limited to running it in either Discover or this Oracle tool? Or is this essentially just the vessel or the bridge to make it easier to extract data?
That is a really good question. I don't know if you could go a different route, like if you wanted to, are you saying like use a different tool for data?
We have like
well,
SQL.
Yeah, we have database team. Natalie is on that team on the corporate side. So now a lot of the team member stuff that they're talking about are maybe very specific reports to maybe user roles and all that kind of stuff. I would feel that would be a gap. I don't think we would just have to find what table that is, right? It's just a matter of identifying where this is. So a lot of the table structure has been figured out in terms of what things are. And, I guess what I'm just trying to figure out is trying to see where the holes are, right? Like what are things that can be done internally versus what things are going to really be required,
Right.
So I guess that's my thing, I just know it's a big leap. So, I had talked briefly with the group in the beginning. I'm just trying to understand, because I'm going to have to, Tim and I are going to have to package this thing up and go back and say, hey, look, do we want to spend, X amount of dollars to upgrade all the other properties, or how long can they stay on Discover? How long, can we bridge the gap, or is the gap just so wide where we have to have it? And so we just have to find where that is in terms of that. So, I mean, a lot of the data stuff, just like any of the gaming data is super easy to get, I mean, it's super easy. It's tabling it, putting stuff together, and there's already a high degree of automation that happens right now. But I just know that it seems like on the call that there's very specific paths that people may need that either we haven't attempted at this point, or maybe it's restrictive unless you have Discover, or the Oracle tool. So that's why I was just trying to root it out.
Hey, John, I think some of that question kind of revolves around too, what can we get away with that doesn't require a system generated report? I think that's where sometimes we get handcuffed, I think sometimes, because I feel like we could get a lot. I mean, for the internal stuff, I don't think that there's a lot of things that we couldn't, that we would need this thing specifically for. I think where we kind of get handcuffed is if like LSP says, well, show me where in the system you're generating that report or getting that data from. That's where it becomes a little more tricky, because we have to show them that it's coming from the Konami system through one of their system tools.
Yeah. Well, I guess the way I would look at that, Tim, it's almost like, there were like two reports for the Bell property. Whenever that property came online, there was a gap in reporting that was required by LSP. And, with it being the first property in Louisiana, they built those those reviews for the finance team to be sure that they could provide, the information they needed. The state saying, I like a report like this. Okay. We'll build your report like that, so some of it may be like that. Others could be, again, I don't know what the whole list of those items are from a finance perspective, like, is there a free play report that has to be done every day? I'm sure there's an audit process that happens at every property that I'm just unfamiliar with, that what report can be ran from just using the front end interface of Konami or the front user side of Konami versus this back end that now can join multiple things together to do that, right? Essentially, this is just like a front end SQL tool that's going to extract. I'm just going to click and point where this is versus like Natalie or Tom would have to write a SQL script for it, or even Chris over at ESL, right? I mean, somebody would have to write something to be able to join these tables or put stuff together, right? So, but your point is definitely well taken, because those jurisdictions and all, there's regulatory pieces of this that are just absolutely required that can't come from any other source.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing that we have to be just mindful of, John. And that's one of the few things that I would say may sway something one way or another, only because if we are trying to pull sources from other SQL databases and doing our own thing, just making sure that, a lot of times we'll run into a situation where they'll want to see like a date timestamp and that it's coming from coming out of a system that is like a Konami, like a game, LSP approved system. So
Right.
I know, like, for example, Discoverer, the little asterisk is there is that it's a part of unaudited data, right? So it's hard for us to run reports that do get information out of Discoverer and then be able to give those to LSP, because the canned reports that come out of the system versus what you're pulling from Discoverer might be unaudited tables. So again, even with the Discoverer tool, we have to be cautious of what we give to LSP or other jurisdictions, because the reports
Right.
they run might not actually match what come out of the system generated reports.
Well, I think that's where that came in, Tim, where there was that gap for those two reports for the Bell specifically in Louisiana. Like,
I believe so.
those two reports had to be system generated, right? Those are because Discover is an optional tool. Whenever we purchased Konami for all of our properties, this was initially unbeknownst to me. These things were built into the overall pricing structure. Now they did have a cost to it. And we got charged for it, and we pay monthly maintenance on it and all that stuff, right? We get a certain number of users. All that is out there. It is optional though. We're not required to do that. So if a property chooses not to do it, from a minimum standard for regulatory purposes, Konami has to meet that goal. That's part of their licensing pieces in each jurisdiction, So I guess the thing is, if you didn't have it, you'd still have to be able to, how do you get the data? How do you get these pieces? But more importantly, whoever's using this seems like this is more of a marketing tool and more of a finance tool, right? I think those are probably the two main users. I know, like, do you, like Lisa, do you use, like, does Lisa use this or Barry, are you actually are you in Discover doing this, or is it more like marketing and finance teams doing this?
Well, I know that IT will probably use it to just, if anything, not only for some of the LSP things that they want us to give them,
Mhm.
but also for our own audit purposes on the system, to make sure that we don't have people in there who've termed and somebody missed it, those types of things.
Yeah.
And for our own approvals. Yeah.
So I guess,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Yeah, my understanding is LSP is not accepting anything from Discover, so everything has to be from the
Yeah. Because Discover is an optional tool, right? Like, we don't have, like, whenever we're working the deal with Konami, right? We could have said we don't want to use your Sync 31, right? There's another tool to it, like another piece that they still have to work with, right? Because it's still the system of choice. But if we didn't want this tool, then how do we get that? Because again, I guess to your point, if that's what you're noticing over there, Scott, that LSP is not taking from this system, then the system's going to be used to aggregate data to make other business decisions, right? You may pull stuff together to look at stuff, or you may use it for a checkpoint. Nina, to your point, you may use it for internal purposes to make sure that things look okay, right? But maybe to Scott's point, it's not going to be acceptable by LSP. They want something that's more official. Is what it sounds like in that case. So I don't know. it's good discussion. I think we just need to continue the discussion internally probably and just and work through each of these scenarios and find what the best option is moving forward. Because every property, if we continue to move forward, is going to have to convert. You know, there'll be a significant cost for each property to do so.
And John, I think you're asking this earlier. We're able to set up an ODBC connection through this Oracle database, so we can still build your own queries without this, like within Excel or something else like that.
Gotcha. So that's what you're doing currently.
That's how we have like our DMR and Flash reports set up. So it's just,
Gotcha. Okay.
So Scott, you're not using Brio or Showcase, anything like that?
no, not using those. I don't know if those will even support this ODBC connection.
Those things are so old. Well,
Right. Yeah.
for
I don't
sure
think so.
Showcase-
Won't know.
for sure Showcases, but the other
Yeah.
two, that's
Yeah,
that's
Brio-
old.
older.
And Brio doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah,
no. Oh, there you
Oracle bought it a long time ago.
Oh, okay.
That's pretty much this now, so.
Okay. Makes sense. All right. Well, awesome. Well, good stuff. Thanks for providing the overview, and appreciate your time and sharing that with us.
Sure, no problem at all, guys. And if you guys have any additional questions in between now and your guys' go live, you can always reach out, send an email. I hope you guys do have my email on file. But if not, you can always reach out to Angelo. And we can get more questions answered if you have anything additional. And I do have the 2 questions that were asked during our training that I was unable to answer written down. So I'll go back to my team, do a little bit more research, see if I can find those answers for you, and I will provide them to you guys through email.
Awesome. Thank you.
No problem. Do you guys have any other questions before we end the meeting? Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for your time today, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your afternoon. And to those who are joining me on Super Series, I'll
Yep.
see you in 3 minutes.
Okay. Thanks. Okay. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.